Howdy, my name is Philip Osterbind, and this is my presentation for my core curriculum assignment 2. So I wanted to talk about just something that I was both told about and noticed myself during a study abroad trip that I did last year through A&M. It was called IRAP, Introduction to Research Abroad Program, where we spent 3 weeks in Mexico taking classes at different universities and learning what it's like to study in an environment in a different culture. And it was really an enjoyable time. Here's a group photo from one of the schools we studied at, Anahuac Mayab. Um, and just for fun, here's a group photo of us at Chichen Itza. That was a visit that we did one day. That was really a good time. So I just wanted to include those just for fun. Um, but as for a big difference I noticed, it was in the culture of like group studying. So we were each assigned a group project. We were put in groups of 10, and each group was 10 students, half A&M students, and then half students, half local students. So my group was 5 Texas A&M students, including me, and then 5 students from UADY, Universidad Autonómica de Yucatán, and which was really a good time. Getting to work with people from a totally different part of the world. It was interesting learning as someone who knows a bit of Spanish. It was interesting being in an environment where like we were all just switching between each language and things of that sort. But when it comes to actually working together, we were told this beforehand before we left for our trip during orientation to expect our culture. We're coming from an individualistic culture, is what we were told, and we were going to be working in a group-oriented culture. So there's a lot of emphasis on community and peer collaboration. I mean, the biggest way I saw this is that like as for our group project, what we were used to as A&M and U.S. students as a whole, and as someone who has lived both in Texas, I've also lived in Maryland, I've lived in New York, Ohio, I've been all over, and just growing up in the U.S. school system, we are very individualistic, and so I've included some like kind of the peak things of note here. There's a lot of focus on personal achievement, and then I know I and a lot of people prefer to study alone. That's not always true, but it's a good generalization. And then there's just a big push to stand out, to be unique, to meet personal goals, not necessarily uh, accomplishing something as a group. And when we were there, typically what their expectation was in our group project is that like no work would happen on our own. So like what I would have been used to for a group project at A&M is that everyone comes together, talks about things that need to get done, divvy up tasks, and then we kind of just all go do our own thing and put it all together at the end, something along those lines. But that was not at all how they were used to working. So it didn't lead to any, poor disagreements. It was just very different expectations. And we ended up doing it their way to an extent, and it was actually really enjoyable. But they very much expected that like work happens when we're together as a group. They meet a lot as a group. It is very normal for them for groups to meet up all over campus to get a lot of their work done. It's not very common to do work super individualistically. So just yeah, we they constantly organize study rooms, mainly the Mexican students. And yeah, they just they really enjoyed the idea of a group. They came up with a fun group name. Here we would still call ourselves Group 9, but they came up with a fun name. And they liked to take votes on stuff and made a group chat, and we would like all vote on not just like decisions for their project, but also where we wanted to meet, which is another thing. They were like very enthusiastic about meeting up in cool places, not just on campus, but like let's all meet up at this cool restaurant in downtown Merida and study there. They brought us different coffee shops. It was a very group minded, collaborative, or group oriented really is the official term. It was a very group oriented way of going about uh, working on something all together. And that continued over the summer. We had the whole summer to finish our group research project. So even over the summer, they were constantly organizing online like actual calls, Zoom meetings and stuff, rather than just texting or group chat. Some of them even got us together to all play like online video games together and stuff. They made a point to enjoy each other as a group, and it was a really eye opening experience, and definitely something that stood out to me in the alien culture, and it affected how I handle group studying today. So yeah, thank you.